Hey followers, this is your boy, movie maker Doug55. Today I have Andy McPhee with me once again, and both of us have a very inspiring guest with us. His name is Ron, and he has an incredible story to tell, and we are going to let him share it today. Welcome, guys.
Thanks.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, hey Ron. First of all, we are mates. We've been mates for probably 5 years since we met many years ago at Landmark. And all I got to say is I really appreciate you taking your time for this, for Doug's channel. He shared his inspiring story of being unstoppable and relentless in series 1. With his autism, what he's dealt with all his life, depression, anxiety, medication, not fitting into life. And in the hope of this series will inspire people. And I've been so blessed in my life to have these amazing friends. And you are one of them. And honestly, mate, you inspire me when I see what you're up to in life. And it's just, it's amazing. And it's a blessing to have people like you in our lives,
Likewise, Andy. International man of transformation you are. Always between Australia and America and always speeding around doing amazing stuff. And so I feel the same.
Thanks, my man. Thanks, appreciate it. Doug, over to you. Sitting outside the Golden Gate Bridge. Not.
Yeah, good one. All righty. So, Ron, to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm an author, I'm a YouTuber, and I'm one of my biggest success story as an author is this book documenting my years of depression and my roller coaster of a high school education. It's called From Green Flags to Blue Flags 2, The Amazing Comeback of an Autistic Spokesperson. And I'm also the writer of a screenplay, Mose and the Great Escape, which is based on Moses.
Nice.
So yeah, you have an incredible journey, and I must ask, what are you up to in life now with your music and podcasts, etc.?
Well, today, first of all, we're talking right now during this whole coronavirus era. So what I was up to in life half a year ago, kind of shifted to a different place right now. Things have actually kind of slowed down for me a little bit, but generally speaking, what I'm up to right now is I finished up my latest record, which is called Ronny W and the Truth, Volume 1, and looking forward to releasing that soon. And all my music and all that kind of stuff can be found at my website, which is RONNYW.com, RonnyW.com. So that's what's going on musically. And parallel to that, I've also had this, personally, from my personal life, I've had recently a stem cell procedure done, injected into, to my bloodstream to repair my spine. For those of you who, if you don't have a background on who, what, when about me, then though I'm sitting in a couch right now, I get around from place to place with a wheelchair. I suffered a spinal cord injury about 14 years ago during a war between Israel and Lebanon. I was a tank commander for the Israeli Defense Force. So going through that medical procedure, which is really exciting to see what will become possible out of that. And another cool, exciting thing that I'm up to right now, literally in the last week, was another exciting thing that I'm up to literally from this last week is that I purchased an RV, and my intention with that RV is to renovate it and turn it into a wheelchair accessible RV, so that people that have some kind of chronic physical issue that they can't travel around the United States, that they'll be able to rent it and travel around the United States, because it turns out that in the US these days, it's nearly impossible to rent a wheelchair accessible RV. So I thought I might as well just build one, and that's it.
That's really inspiring, man. Where do you live?
I live in Los Angeles currently.
Next time I'm in LA, I'm going to have to pay you a visit.
Don't ever threaten me, man.
Hang
Because I'll mess you up. I'll mess you up.
Wise guy, have we?
Yeah, it sort of sounded a little bit of something out of The Godfather. Went, wow, Doug's had a bad day. He's going to visit Ron. He'd probably come and see me after.
No, I meant that in a good way, like a friend.
Of course. I'm just joking around with you. No, I'd be honored for you to come out to LA and to hang out a little bit.
That's funny.
You really are inspiring. That's a really inspirational story. But I got to give you one on your wise guy personality.
Oh, I'm an expert wise guy. It doesn't get any wiser than me, man.
It sort of reminds me of the movie Shrek when Farquaad's like, it's hideous. And Shrek's like, well, that's not very nice. It's just a donkey. Remember that?
Oh, dear. Hey, Ron, can I ask about a little bit of a share about the stem cell treatment? Like, because I know it's been around for a while, but it's an interesting medical phenomenon, isn't it, really?
Well, yeah. So regarding the stem cell stuff, regarding the stem cell procedure, so here's the thing. How should I say this? Well, the deal goes, this is how it goes. Someone who suffers a spinal cord injury, no matter who you are, where you're from, what language you speak, in every hospital in the world, when you suffer a spinal cord injury, your doctor will approach you when you wake up from the trauma and inform you that you are never going to walk again. And that is a phenomenon which is pretty remarkable, that happens across the world, around the globe. And when I was told that, I pretty much, I completely, kicked it back at my doctor, and I thought to myself, you could go F yourself. No way that's gonna, like, who are you to say something like that to me? You're not God. You don't get to say that to me. When, by the way, the interesting thing is that there are many people that they suffer these kind of injuries, and they do end up rehabilitating and walking out of the hospital. But they give that blanket statement to everybody. Now, it can be argued, and I can argue this fiercely, whether it's whether they create a self-fulfilling prophecy where, when they tell you that you're never going to walk again, and then instead of working your butt off to rehabilitate, you just go, well, if the doctor told me I'm never going to walk, then I'm just never going to walk, and then you end up not walking again in your life because you don't do what it takes to rehabilitate. So for me, I worked my ass off for years to rehabilitate myself. I was able to reach a certain level where I was able to walk with a walker for a little bit. I got somewhere, but then I plateaued. And that's kind of a mission that I'm on, that I was never really willing to give up. I did, like, this, I pushed the envelope with this crazy surgery that I did once that actually took me back a couple of steps. And this stem cell technology is something that is, relatively new in the world. It's not there yet where it's being done in hospitals at large, but I found a really extraordinary doctor here in Los Angeles. He's a godsend, I think. And I say that literally. The chances of me bumping into this guy are 1 in a million, and it happened. And as soon as I met him for the first time, and he told me, I can't guarantee you anything, because most people think that doctors are scientists, but it's not true. Not all of medicine is based on science, and there's an art to it. And in things like what you're dealing with right now, it's going to take science and art to get you through it. And I might make mistakes. And if you're willing to do that, and well, then, we're on this journey together, and let's do it together. Because there was never someone like you. I've never treated someone like you. You are unique, and I'm not, and that's it. So I was like, you know what? That's a chance I'm willing to take. And right now we're in the process of the stem cell procedure. I hope that good things come out of it.
Yeah, that's incredible. I completely understand that story of, or the share of whatever it's like, whether it's law of attraction or whatever you put out, whatever you believe, whatever you put out, there will be something come back to you. It's just that law, whatever faith you're in or believe, it's still, you put something out, it will come back. And yeah, that's amazing. And I really do wish you, the best of, it's not even luck. I just wish you the best of being in the hands of that man that you've met.
Thank you.
You
Me
know,
too.
I wish
yeah.
you the best in moving forward through that procedure.
Thank you.
Doug, is there anything you want to ask Ron? Because I've got a couple of questions, but your channel.
Yeah. So what exactly happened that turned your world upside down?
So for me, I lived in Israel at the time, and in Israel, after high school, everyone goes to the military. It's a mandatory military service. So I went to the military, and I went to become a tank crewman. So I was a gunner in a tank. In Israel, we have this incredible tank. It's called the Merkava Mark IV tank, which is the most advanced and powerful tank in the world. And I soon after became a tank commander. And in 2006, a war broke out between Israel and Lebanon. And I found myself fighting in that war, leading my men there. And at some point, there was an operation that we went out to, and I was leading a convoy of tanks and other vehicles from inside of Lebanon back to Israel to do some repairs. And as I was leading the convoy, another convoy, also an Israeli convoy, came up the same road, and it was in the middle of a Lebanese village. Now, for anyone who hasn't been to the Middle East or hasn't been to, like third worldy type countries, villages are built very tight. They're like alleyways, and it's not like in America where all the roads are super wide and all that. So maneuvering a tank inside of a village, a tank is a pretty monstrous vehicle. Maneuvering a tank is not such an easy thing to do. So I start maneuvering my tank in order to get my guys off the road so the opposing convoy can come through. And while I was maneuvering my tank, there was a communications malfunction with my driver. The driver's deep inside of the tank. So he doesn't really see, especially at night, it's very hard for them to see where they're driving. The tank commander, who's me, I had my head sticking out of the top of the tank, and I could see where I was going, so I would have the communication system with my driver, and I could tell him driver forward, driver backward, stop, faster, slower, take a right, take a left. So while we were maneuvering, kind of like a parallel parking, the comms went out with the driver, and we were backing in towards a building, a big concrete structure. And when I told him to stop, he couldn't hear me. And sooner than later, in a few seconds, the tank collided with the building, and the concrete structure collapsed over the tank in a way which I didn't expect. I wasn't even worried. I was like, it's a tank. You go through it. I'm like, if there's a tree, then you can run over a tree. If there's a building, you go through a building. It's no big deal. Nothing can stop a tank, really. So the building it fell in a way where it collapsed on the tank, and a couple of tons of concrete blocks came falling through the hatch that was above my head onto my back, and it crushed my spine. It broke my ribs into my lungs. It crushed my left shoulder. It was we had a little party in there.
Wow. That's well, man, that's incredible that you're even still here talking to us, but I know why.
It is incredible that I was talking. If I didn't have a helmet on, I remember getting hit in the head big time and if I didn't have the helmet on, then I would for sure be dead. If I didn't have my bulletproof vest on also, which kind of which took the hit also, then I would also be dead.
Wow. Circumstances, what they create, huh?
Yeah.
Doug, you got a question? Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing that you're still here and that you're going to get stem cells. I'm really happy for you that you have a chance to get back to normal. That's your journey is incredible. So after that, I must ask, what does your future look like today?
So the future is always bright, and that's it. How can I say this? The future is given by whatever I'm going to say it's going to be, because no one knows what the future holds. No one knows, and anybody that says that they know is a damn liar.
Mm-mm.
And everyone is so busy. It's important to remember that everyone's really busy living their own life and trying to make it in their own life. And sometimes when people tell us how the future is going to be for us, many times it's really, it's all, how it's a lot easier to give other people advice and to give yourself and to take your own advice.
Yeah.
Or it's really easy to tell other people how to live life when you struggle with your own life. So first of all, whatever people say, I don't care if it's a doctor that's going to tell, it's going to say that told me I'm never going to walk again, or whatever it is, it's going to go the way that I say it's going to go. And in terms of my future, I actually believe this for every human being on earth, but I can definitely vouch for myself. I think that I'm pretty clear, I take that back. It's not that I'm pretty clear. After giving it very much thought, I truly believe that there is a purpose for why we are here. There is a reason. I don't know what it is, but there's a reason why God put you on this earth.
Yeah.
And it's not to futz around and waste your life. And I mean, if you weren't supposed to be here, then you wouldn't be here. So while you're here, then you might as well live large and, do what you can to make the biggest impact or to live your life to the fullest potential that you possibly can. It's kind of like going to an maybe this ain't a great example, but it's it's like going to the all-you-can-eat buffet and or I don't know, going to a 5-star Michelin restaurant and then passing on the food. And I'm not hungry. You got to be crazy.
Yeah.
You just got to be crazy. So so in terms of my future and what I'm up to, I've chosen that the purpose of my life is to bring some kind of resolution to the Middle East. What exactly that's going to look like, I don't exactly know, but I do know that one of the things that brings me great joy is when I have the opportunity to have people see that really anything is possible. And you'll never convince me otherwise. You cannot convince me that you don't get to say how your life goes. You'll never convince me. And I think one of the greatest joys for me is to share that with people. The conflict in the Middle East, between the Israelis, the Jews, and the Arabs, and the Palestinians, and all that really is something that occurs to most people in the world as like something that's completely impossible to solve. It's an unsolvable issue. And I have to say that that kind of turns me on in a way, seeing if there's a difference that can be made in that issue is something that turns me on. I'm currently working on putting on a really incredible transformative leadership program in Israel within the next year, which is it's called the Being a Leader program. It's a partnership between Harvard and Landmark. It's incredibly powerful, and I want to put a bunch of Israeli leaders, Arab leaders, Israeli Arab leaders, and Palestinian leaders together and go through this whole program together. And I think that would be a cool start.
Wow. So you're not really up to much big, mate, then. I was hoping you'd share something big. Like, that's huge. It's amazing. Amazing.
it's like Andy, it's like, on the one hand, to be totally authentic with you, I'm saying this, and while I'm saying this, I think to myself, I might come off as, the biggest, fartsy big talker. Oh, here we go. We got some, some schmo that's talking about peace in the Middle East and all that. And you know what? That might be true. I don't know what it's going to look like, and I don't know how it's done. I think if people knew how it can be done, then they would do it.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm dancing, I'm
Yep.
in the middle of the dance, and I'm probably going to step on people's feet and on my own feet and make a lot of mistakes, but one step at a time, go big or go home. And, while I'm dancing in this, I'm doing what I love, the gifts that God gave me. I have music. God gave me the gift of music. I'm going to do music. God gave me the gift of this, how can I say, of a
leadership.
Yeah, leadership and a vocal ability. Then I'm going to do my podcast, and to share life, just like you guys are doing, just sharing with people that, what is possible for them.
Yeah.
So, was that war that you fought in Lebanon or whatever, was that connected at all to the war on terror or the reactions to the 9/11 attacks?
That's a great question. So, as a generality, it wasn't directly connected to the war on terror per 9/11, but in Israel, America suddenly got introduced to the war on terror, to terrorism, big time during 9/11. But Israel's been dealing with terrorism since its inception.
Yeah.
So every few years, a war comes. Israel has to fight a war with one of their neighbors, which are countries that are run, unfortunately, by terrorist regimes. And so every couple of years we got to fight a war there, because there's some kind of, they attack innocent civilians, and there's a need to retaliate and protect our people. So in the summer of 2006, there was a big terrorist attack with coming from Lebanon, which is run by a terrorist organization called Hezbollah, and a war broke out. They started firing thousands of rockets into Israel, and it was kind of inevitable. It was when you're attacked and when you're bullied, there, especially when your life's on the line, then there's no time or reason for cordial niceness. You have to, when evil's knocking at your door, it's best to knock it out as fast as possible.
Just what you said then really resonated with another guest we had on last week, Jerry Trimble. And Jerry's an actor. He was a world champion, international kickboxing champion in the 90s. He's actor now. He does a lot of work with anti-bullying in Canada and LA, working with the police departments. And he said exactly that. He used the word relentlessly, unstoppably bullied at school. It said it went on for years. And finally, he started practicing karate in his bedroom. And after a year or so of doing that, his dad was talking to their uncle about it. And the uncle was an ex-martial artist. Martial artist, ex-military. So he invited him, said, look, get out of your room and come down to the club. Anyway, Jerry advanced. He became a local champion, national champion, world champion in years to come. But when he'd been training for probably a year or so in the dojo, he said, I was at school in the locker room. He said, these bullies, no matter what I did, whether it was sport, they'd gang up on him and say, we don't want you in this team. It was just relentless. And he's in the locker room and he was getting his gi out and packing it in his bag. And the bully and his friends come up and said, oh, so you're a big karate man now. And, so you got a colored belt. So what are you going to do? And he's in his face, and Jerry was ignoring it. And then he said, the guy pushed him, and he said his hand only just touched me, and the next thing he was on the ground, and his friends are going, oh, uh-oh. And he said, never touched again. He said, there is a time where you have to defend yourself. You just can't keep taking that. And he didn't instigate it, but exactly what you just said then. When they come knocking and they don't wait for you to open it and they just barge in, you've got to defend yourself at some point.
And you know that it's absolutely, and I mean, it's an unfortunate thing, but
yes,
we got to remember that And this is a kind of a perspective that I have because listen, I'm Israeli. I was born in Israel. I was raised in the United States, and I lived kind of half my life in Israel, half my life in the US. And so I come from the Middle East. I have Middle Eastern roots. And, you know, the Middle East is a tough neighborhood. Everybody knows it's a tough neighborhood.
Mm.
And in the Western world, of course, I'm generalizing right now, but in the Western world, life is really good. You know, people have rights, people have food, people have medicine, people have nice cars. I mean, generally speaking, everything's really great. And we kind of grow up like that.
Mm.
And we kind of forget that the Western world is the vast minority of the human population on this planet. And the majority of the people in this world don't live in a great neighborhood. They have to deal with, you know, with corruption, with theft, with rape, with murder, with, you know, with lawlessness all the time.
Mm.
And so a lot of times from places like America or, you know, or Europe or whatever, we get very judgmental about, you know, conflict. But sometimes conflict is something that is a necessary thing to get rid of the bullies on the playground, because there are definitely bullies on the playground in this world.
Mm.
And just like your other guest says, sometimes that is what's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something else you mentioned too about if you knew how that solution was going to come about or how the peace is going to come. And again, that resonated with something I heard the other day, is they're referring to the greats of music like Mozart and Chopin and giving an analogy of young kids at school. The parents, you know, want them to learn music, and the child may take up piano or violin, and they go, oh, I just really hope my child becomes as great like the great Chopins and Mozart of the world. And he said, well, pretty much if we knew how we could do that, we do it, but we don't know how to create that with somebody else. They said, it's like going to a magic show. Once you've seen the trick done, it's like, yeah, I know how to do that, you know? And it's like that music. We don't know how Mozart and all those great composers did that. There was just something in them. And you can't actually teach that. You can't teach that greatness, and you can't work out how a solution to bring world peace. But what you've got to do is give it a go, because you may be as great as Chopin. You may be an incredible composer. We don't know. Absolutely. Until you give it a go and stand in that world of that and just give it a go, you know?
Absolutely.
Dougie, you're orbiting the planet. Have you got anything you want to say?
Yeah, all I gotta say, Ron, is you're really inspirational. Like, your story is incredible, and I really admire it and what you've gone through. You know, you've gone through a lot like I have, and one of the things that I struggled with autism was fitting in with other people, and, you know, and certain instructors from my school district were not really accepting of me because, you know, I was different from most students. And so I've gone through similar struggles like you have. And I really admire your story. Like, keep up the good work.
Thank you, my friend. You too.
And Doug, just the one thing that happens in life is we can't ever do anything on our own. As much as people say, no, I don't need people to help me. No, you do. You need support. And Doug's didn't quite share everything. He's written 8 books. We're working on his 8th one, but I had nothing to do with the other 7. All I've worked with Doug is just mentoring him and keeping him going in that direction. But one thing that happened that changed him was one teacher said something to him. You just want to share that quickly, Doug, that lady who saw the greatness in you.
Yeah, for sure. I'm originally from Estes Park, Colorado, and after about 14 years of living there and going to school there, I left for a town near Phoenix, Arizona. I went to high school there at the town near Phoenix, and what happened was I had an English instructor that saw potential in me right away. And she was like one of the first teachers that actually accepted me for who I was, even if I was different. Her name was Miss Chandra Bird, and she heard from my parents that I liked to write. And so, and since she had connections to Amazon's publishing process, she went up to me offering me the chance to write my own book and publish it in order to gain a new learning experience. It was like a learning experience offer. And the result was my very first book ever written and published, From Green Flags to Blue Flags, the story of my life. And I promoted it at the Transition Conference in Scottsdale, Arizona in September of 2013 and did a book signing. And after years of struggling, that was when I was on top of the world. And then that's when my depression began, was afterwards in my rough spot.
So the depression began after you finished the book?
Not after I finished the book, but after I returned from the conference. I think I took my ongoing success for granted a little bit.
That's honest.
Yeah. And I didn't really put much of an effort into my academics afterwards.
And so, Doug, and then the depression, the weight, like I think we only spoke, maybe 7 or 8 months ago, your weight was soaring around 320 pounds and you told me you were walking. So we started mentoring on that. I just said, make sure you let me know when you're walking every day, make sure you do it. And I knew he was going to do it because he's relentless, and now he's down to about 210. Weekly. And the good news is, and Doug, you can share this before we finish today, what your 2 books are rated now on Amazon, it's only happened in the last 2 weeks since we've started this. It's incredible.
Yeah, my book about depression, From Green Flags to Blue Flags 2, it was recently ranked in the top 300 best-selling autism biographies. And it's, it has dropped over the past day, so now it's in the top 500. But the fact that it was in the top 300 says a lot. And not only that, but for about 3 weeks, it was in the top 15 in the United Kingdom, and now it's in the top 20.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And again, those figures make us feel good, and they do make us feel good. It's great. But the big thing behind that is that was only made possible by Doug doing and sharing what you went through, Ron, what Doug's done, the little bit of my story, which I haven't really shared at all because it's not my program at the moment. But all of us, by just getting up every day, and the world will come at us even when you get out of bed. Before you get out of bed, it's going to lay it on you and have this weight around like, today I've got to do this. I can't, oh my God. When you can get hold of that and go, yeah, I'm going to get up and grind my teeth through this day. And it just changes everything. It totally changes everything. So that's pretty much it. We're out of time. I just want to share with you, Ron and Doug, that I am so blessed in my journey of 68 years of the people I've met who've transformed my life because of who they are, just incredible. And that's what I'm hoping. And Doug is hoping that this will do for other people, hearing everyone's story here, including Doug's, of course,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's an amazing thing that you guys are doing. I'm up to the same stuff. And I mean, let's put it this way, between sitting around on social media or watching TV or sitting on Netflix or something like that, which is all, inward facing energy, anything that anyone is doing, especially you, which is creating value for other people that can make a difference for them, is a true blessing and honorable. And I thank you for that, for being those kinds of people.
Yeah, thank you too, Ron. Doug, champion, back to you, astronaut.
Yeah, all righty. God bless you, Ron, and may you have a tremendous future.
Thanks so much, Doug.
Yeah, and everybody, whenever you have a chance, please check out my latest screenplay, Ray Guns of Kronos, War on Claudiusville, Part 1, The New Hero.
I love it. I love this guy. He's just great.
Love it.
Doug. All right, Dougie, sign us out, mate.
All righty. And everybody, please follow Andy McPhee and Ron on social media. And please follow and like me on YouTube at Movie Maker Doug55. And we'll see you next time on Being Relentless and Unstoppable.
Woohoo!